Let's get ready to rumble!
What's up, my metal friends? Welcome to another Friday night edition of the Electric Circus radio show here at Metal Messiah Radio. Tonight we got another interview. We got an interview with a member, Andrew, of Aussie Thrasher's HARLOTT. They got a new album, Detritus of The Final Age. Welcome to the Electric Circus radio show here at Metal Messiah Radio. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and it's an honor and a pleasure having you on the show.
That's great to be here.
So, Andrew, please talk to us about the newest offering, Detritus of A Final Age, that was released November the 13th, 2020 on Meadowblade Records. So tell us what it's all about, the new offering.
Well, this is our fourth album. It's probably our most refined or mature offering that we've kind of ever put out. We've been playing thrash metal since we started, and so this is obviously another thrash metal release. But this one's got a bit of a experimental edges in some areas. The first three albums were kind of a trilogy for us. We did the origin and the proliferation and extinction, and they all sound really similar. They all follow the same kind of thought processes in the writing. But this fourth album was, we went into this with just like no ideas. And just kind of did all the things that we've always wanted to do, but never really thought they'd fit with the first three. So this is our thrash metal album with some kind of dark sensitivities and some melodic passages and a good amount of hooks thrown in for for the viewers and the listeners' enjoyment. November 13th came out on Meadowblade Records, so I think it's available worldwide. And get it on vinyl, get it on CD. There's lots of fun coloured vinyls. And it's just, if you're into thrash metal, give it a go.
And we love the new album and everything. I've been playing a little bit on the show here and everything. Please tell us about the band members. How long have you all known each other, and how long have y'all been a band as a cohesive unit?
This is one of those high school projects for me. I'm 30 years old now, and when I was about 16 or so, doing the high school battle of the bands, I got a bunch of my mates together to play, a Metallica cover and a Megadeth cover, and I just kind of kept doing that from there with the same, bunch of dudes. We ended up forming the band, doing some demos when we finished high school, and we've had a few lineup changes over the years, but Melbourne in Australia, it's quite an insular scene, the country itself being an island, so everyone knows each other. So every time we get a new guy in, it's someone we've known for like 5 or 10 years. And the current lineup is, me and Tom, who have been doing it from day one. We've been there from the start. And our latest drummer, we got him from Bane of Bedlam, which were a Queensland kind of black thrash death band. And Leigh Bartley from Mouse's Wake, who also released an album on November 13th. If you really like a bit of death thrash, I definitely recommend checking that one out. But these are guys we've known our whole lives, great musicians, and we're lucky to be in a position where we can just kind of keep it going every time we have a bit of a hiccup on the road, and we can always kind of find someone that's going to fit in well socially and musically, and just continuously improve what the band can offer.
What is the origin of the band's name, HARLOTT? Where does it come from?
I believe it's an Old English, possibly French origin term. It just means prostitute or whore. Now, that's not significant in itself. I just thought it was a cool sounding word when I was a 16-year-old. And the two T's is there because people kept saying Harlow, assuming that it was a silent T. On the inflection. So to avoid any confusion and to make sure people were pronouncing us nice and percussively, I put two T's on the end. And it's been history since then. I get asked about it a lot, and I'm refusing to change it now that we've got a sick logo, and it's now on 4 albums, so it's not going anywhere.
Love the logo. When I first saw the band's logo, I thought it was Harlow, but it's HARLOTT. Very cool name you have with the band. Okay, tell us
Yeah, I
about
think the logo is important to
Detritus.
kind of identify us as a thrash band.
Tell us
Tell us
what
about
is it about.
the phrase itself, detritus of the final age. Obviously, detritus is the waste left over, or the ruins of something, or the rubbish. Basically, when you destroy something, what's left over is the detritus. So detritus of the final age is what I figured would follow after the third album, being Extinction. After the mass extinction event, there's going to be just kind of the ruins of the society that we were, and a lot of the music kind of deals with lyrically deals with overthrowing systems, or the destruction of something, or kind of religious indoctrination, or false idol worship. There's also a couple of personal songs in there, but the music's always been a bit doom and gloom, apocalyptic foreshadowing for us. We write angry music, so I kind of try and find things that I'm angry about, and the way the world works tends to piss me off a bit. So that's what I usually pen for my lyrics, and this album is no different.
What was the process like on this album, developing the songs?
It's always kind of the same thing. I just I write music. I'm pretty much the soul music composer for the band, and I'm not sure if I do it normally or if I have a bit of a weird method, but I base a lot of the music on I kind of build off a feeling. I have an idea for like a verse or a chorus, and it's often, rather than like a guitar melody or a riff, I kind of have an idea for a drum passage and a vocal overlay, and I tend to write the music to fit around what I want the vocals to be doing, and I often go over top, making riffs needlessly complex when I'm supposed to be singing as well. But it's always just a matter of thinking about what you want to achieve in a song. Like, you have an idea, you go, I've always wanted to do this, or I think this will sound really cool, and you can kind of build from that, or build before it, and you just kind of follow the feeling that you had at the start of the song. Like when you first thought of a musical idea, you kind of just you could try and build off that to make sure that your song from start to finish is quite thematically cohesive, so that it always feels like the same track the whole way through. I put a lot of effort into making sure that when you listen to one of my songs from start to finish, you know that it's that song. Particularly on this album, because of how aggressively we wedged all those tracks together on the record. Like, you put the vinyl on and it just doesn't stop making noise from start to finish until you got to change sides. So it was important to make sure that each song had its own kind of feeling, and that is the most important thing when it comes to writing songs for me. Making sure that all my riffs and all my vocal ideas make sense together within the track.
Awesome. Please tell us about the mixing and the mastering of the album, Detritus of the Final Age, and which studio did you guys record the album in?
This was a new studio for us. We did the first three albums all at one studio, so they've all got very similar sound, and you can kind of, that was important for the trilogy of what we were doing. But for this fourth album, we went to a new studio, Legion Studio Productions, run by Julian Renzo, who was a guitarist for Jack the Stripper, if anyone's got some old school knowledge of Aussie heavy metal. But the guy's got an incredible ear and like really good production ideas, and he definitely fought me on a lot of things that I'm quite stubborn when it comes to my music. I've got a pretty clear-cut idea of how I want things to sound, and every time he would suggest something, it'd be like a weird effect, or something that I thought would be completely out of place. But 9 times out of 10, he was absolutely right, and he had great ideas. So the finished product is just this kind of a really well-rounded record that's got all of this polish on it that we hadn't normally approached before, and all these little production kind of tweaks and nudges and touches to make it quite a special release for us in particular. There's lots of things that happen on it that you probably can't really hear, but I know they're there, and I'm really really stoked with like a weird octave pedal effect on a riff in track 4 or something. But we recorded the album the same way you do it every time. You record the drums, record the guitars, record the bass, and then shout over the whole thing. But we definitely took our time with this one and tried to put as many little special moments in it as we can. And Julian helped make all of that worthwhile. And then we mastered with Ermin Hamadovich of Systematic Productions, who's like a kind of an Australian powerhouse in the mastering scene. He just does incredible records and always does amazing hi-fi kind of productions. So he really pulled it all together and made it sound as crushingly enormous as I think the record is.
Who did the cover art on the album and all of your other releases? Was it the same cover artist or somebody else or somebody new?
This is album 3 with Andrei Buzhikov, who does like all the municipal waste and all the Toxic Holocaust stuff. He's great kind of vibrant and exciting brushwork kind of artist, and he always just I go to him with terrible ideas. I'm not very good with art. My creativity stops at the music, so I go to him with a really half-baked idea. I give him like 2 sentences and go, "Oh, can you just work out something with this idea?" And he always comes back with a sketch, which is just exactly what I wanted, but I didn't realize that's what I wanted until he showed me. And then he's great with working with color schemes. So he always sends us back these artworks that are just like so bright and eye-catching, but like still kind of disgusting in some ways. He picks his colors really well so that they're like eye-catching and vibrant, but still kind of jarring in a few ways. And for me to be stoked with an album that's got a lot of pinks and purples and, and blues and greens and yellows. So yeah, I love working with him because he's just really easy to work with. He's got a great idea. He does amazing work, and now we've got, this is our 3rd album with him. That's just they all look similar, but they're all so completely different to each other. They've all got like the same idea, but their color palettes are vastly removed from each other. So when you line them all up together, you can see like these really distinct releases from each other. So he's fantastic to work with. Ex-Russian, I think. Expat Russian, lives in California or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay, tell us about the characters, in the pool there surrounding the globe there. What is that scene about on the cover art?
So that is that was an Andrei's he added that to the kind of image. That wasn't something that I don't think I ever actually envisioned being there. But on our 2nd release, Proliferation, there's, the main piece of the artwork is this kind of, fat cat standing in the middle. He's got a fistful of cash in one hand. He's got a fistful of warheads in the other. His hair's kind of pointed into horns, and he's got the Manhattan Project symbol medallion hanging around his neck. Mm-hmm. And kind of around him those kind of like ghoulish slave things, and they're all chained together. And like you can, they're like a product of the system. Like they're kind of shackled. They exist, but they only exist for a purpose that the higher powers have deemed. And having them on the 4th album is the kind of, it's a representation of the fact that like the people are so indentured that even once the system has been destroyed and the chains are removed, they're still like lost and meaningless and worthless for themselves. Like I think if everything broke down tomorrow and people had freedom, they just wouldn't know what to do with it, nor would they know how to actually utilize it effectively. Right. And that's kind of what those people represent.
You guys had the official YouTube video of Idle Minded. Please tell us about it and the location of the video, who produced it and directed the video for the song.
We worked with a young man called Connor O'Keen, who is doing amazing work in Australia, particularly in like our local Melbourne scene. He's got an incredible eye for stuff, and he's got an amazing like comic timing sensibility. And one thing I like doing with film clips is kind of just making them a bit fun, because if you're gonna sit there and watch the whole thing, you want it to be entertaining, and there's only so much you can entertain a person with 4 dudes windmilling over music for 5 minutes. So I try and make these film clips a little bit of fun to watch, and he's got a really similar sense of humor to me. So he was incredibly easy to work with, total professional, and he got it done insanely quickly for what we asked of him. We filmed it at the Bendigo Hotel, which is pretty much the home of heavy metal in Melbourne, Australia. It's like the pub that, you know, all the kind of underground or mid-tier touring bands will stop at, because it's, you know, it's got an incredible vibe. The owners love heavy metal. You know, there's shows there every single night, and they're using, you know, their crust punk, their doom metal, their, you know, speed thrash, death black, whatever you want to hear. Like, that's the pub to play heavy metal at. And we've been launching our albums there for years. We play there many times a year, so it made sense that we would go back there and, you know, film our film clip in somewhere that we felt comfortable and felt at home. And so, yeah, worked with Conor O'Kane, filmed at the Bendigo Hotel, filmed us playing some heavy metal, and then filmed a fun little story about me playing against the devil to renew our album contract in a variety of silly games.
All right, you guys got signed by Meadowblade Records. What was the process like getting signed with them, and what made you think it's a great label to be on and be promoted by, and your albums put out by them?
It's, I mean, they're kind of like they're royalty as far as you know, as record labels go. Like, you know, if you had to list, you know, the top heavy metal record labels, they're always going to be on that list. They always have been since they started, you know, and they're just, their roster is incredible. They're amazing to work with because they're doing it for the right reasons. Like, we deal mostly with the German branch, and it's clearly just a bunch of people that love heavy metal and that live for heavy metal, and they understand musicians, they understand how we work and how we need to be kind of coaxed into things. So they just give us all the freedom that we need to, you know, make the music that we want to make, and then they support us when it comes to getting that music out to the world. And they're amazing at making sure people hear it and making sure that people get excited about your releases. You know, we got signed to them like 5 years ago, and I barely remember the actual process. I just remember, you know, getting an email from them saying that they'd heard the music and they'd be interested in working with us, which was incredible to get contacted by the label rather than having to go to them. It was a pretty good feeling. But yeah, they've just been amazing to deal with, and I cannot recommend getting signed to a major label enough. Definitely makes things a lot easier, and it's great to have their genius behind, you know, their knowledge of the industry and the way they do things. It's definitely beneficial for us to have them behind us, and you know, making sure that as many people as possible can, you know, get to enjoy our music, because, you know, that's why we do what we do. We want people to listen to it and to enjoy it.
Okay, next, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play a track off the new album by HARLOTT, Detritus of the Final Age. We're going to play and we're going to spin Idle-Minded, which we just talked about here, track number 2 off the new album by HARLOTT. And we'll be right back with Andrew Hudson of Aussie Thrashers HARLOTT after this. Crank it.
This is Andrew Hudson from Aussie Thrashers HARLOTT, and you're listening to J0KeR's Electric Circus on Metal Messiah Radio.
You lack comprehension, subtlety is lost on your empty mind. Score truth for your factual advantage, utterly addicted to the waste of life. Preacher of an evidence of prison, resonates out the frequency of lies. Bow down to the ill-conceived agenda, worship the face of the paradigm. Connotation, listen with the law. Idle-minded. Subscribe to the lecturer's synopsis, pay the fees, cognitive dissonance. Close eyes, your mind, your mind represents abstract music through the fatal flaw. Dance down on the precipice of vigilant propaganda for the waiting mass. No truth can ever penetrate the anger, right? Deception makes the most abiding plan. Declaration, molded in the war. Idle-minded.
friends, welcome back to J0KeR's Electric Circus here on MetalMessiahRadio.com. We are your metal music messiah. We're back with Andrew Hudson of Aussie Thrashers HARLOTT. So, Andrew, please tell us about the music scene coming up for you in Australia. HARLOTT is known for its speed and aggressiveness. You have taken thrash metal into a new level. How is the reception of the band locally in Melbourne? And please tell us about it.
Well, we were lucky in Australia that we kind of, because we're such an insular country, there's always a bit of a delay in how our scenes work. And I know there was worldwide, there was a bit of a thrash revival in the early 2000s to late 2000s. But that didn't hit us till about 5 or 10 years later. So, when we were starting to release albums around 2013 is when the thrash metal scene was kind of picking back up in Australia. So we kind of accidentally timed things really well for like our local scene. So it was really easy for us to like pick up a fair bit of momentum and start touring around the country, and it all worked really well for us, and we've made a name for ourselves in the country, which is always nice. And obviously Melbourne's our hometown, so that's where our best crowd is, and it's always nice to play your hometown crowds. You've been seeing the same faces for the last 10 years. Because of that delay in the scene, it all timed up. So thrash metal was really big around 2015 in Australia, and that was when we're doing like album 2. So yeah, it's always a bit weird, because the Australian scene's so far behind when you take that overseas, and people asking you why you're playing thrash metal even though it's dead again. And you always get confused by those questions, but Australia's a good scene. It's really small. It's really, we're such a massive country with a reasonably small population. There's only like 25 million of us, countrywide, and there's a 10-hour drive between each major city. So touring is difficult, but the scene is really strong, really passionate, and definitely enough to have a really good time on the road, and build some really good memories.
You guys toured with such bands as Annihilator over the years, Sepultura, and lots more. Please tell us about some of those bands you shared the stage with, and some of your fondest memories of being on tour with bands like Sepultura and Annihilator and the other bands that you toured with.
So a lot of the bands that we've played with over the years, we do that hometown support thing. So, every time a band tours Australia, they'll do all the major cities, and then, if it's a thrash band and they've got to play in Melbourne, we're one of the 3 or 4 bands that usually get put forward for that kind of show. So, we've got to play with Dark Angel and Overkill and Sepultura and Accept. We did the opening warm up for Dave Elson's spoken word tour. We've done some pretty cool things over the years, and the difference with the Annihilator stuff was that's when we went overseas. We spent 6 weeks in Europe, touring around Europe with Annihilator, doing like 34 or shows or something like that, and that was like a whole new world for us. Having played, it was the first time we'd ever left the country to play heavy metal, and to be doing that with Annihilator, to like be playing all these, doing like 8 German cities and just playing to like packed out audiences, most nights, and just to have that opportunity to to show the music to those kind of crowds, people that loved 80s thrash metal. Was the best part is if they were at an Annihilator gig, it's because they loved 80s thrash metal, and so we got to get up there and be like, please enjoy. And that was an incredible opportunity for us. And there was also some weird moments where we'd be, getting off the bus in Hungary, and there were people waiting for autographs for us because somehow, despite the fact that at that point we really were very unheard of, people who still found our music and were, coming down to meet us. Like when we played in Poland and someone had driven from Sweden just to see our set. It's cool to be on the other side of the world and have people, care about what you're doing, and to meet fans that are that dedicated that they'll drive over a country borderline just to catch your set. Very awesome feeling.
Very, very, very cool. Okay, how did you get started in the beginning? Who made you want to be a guitar player and a vocalist? Who are some of your influences you look up to? You were so in and made you say, yeah, I want to be a vocalist. I want to be a guitar player. Who are some of them influences in the early, younger days of Andrew?
In my early teenage years, I was obsessed with Megadeth, like dangerously obsessed with Megadeth, and because of Dave Mustaine, I play guitar and I sing. I used to try and do solos as well, but I'm just not very good. But playing along with Rust in Peace and doing those riffs and doing the vocal deliveries over that is one of the reasons that I can do it today. It's because that was such a challenging album to play and sing at the same time, and it was such an incredible record, and I love that band so much that that's why I'm doing what I do. Over the years I've learned to be inspired by people like Mille Petroza, and obviously Tom Araya is just like the best voice in the business, but Dave Mustaine is absolutely to blame for everything that I've done in the last 15 years. It's all his fault.
Right. What can you tell us about your guitar? Are you subject to brand loyalty, or will you play with whatever's available? What made you choose the guitar you have now? And was it cost, or was it just style, model, brand, color, or preference?
I kind of love this question. I've never really been asked about my guitar before. So I used Jacksons for a really long time, obviously because I was a Megadeth super fan. So Jacksons were the only guitar that you'd want to play, because everyone knows that Megadeth play Jacksons, regardless of what it is they're playing now. Like, they had their Dean phase, they did ESPs, I don't know what he's using at the moment, but Megadeth are a Jackson guitar band. And, obviously Jacksons are just a metal guitar. So I used those for a really long time, but in 2014 or so, I was working at a pizza restaurant because I got bills to pay, and a guy came in who was one of our regular customers, and he said, "You're in a band, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "I make guitars. How would you like to have a guitar made for you?" And I was like, "All right, I'm interested." And so, we sat down with him. I talked about what I'd like, my preferences for how I'd like things to feel, how I like things to sound, and how I like things to play. And he built from scratch by hand he turned what used to be a tree into an instrument, like all just a hand carved and hand polished, and he just made a work of art for me. And that was when I kind of had that shift in mentality. It's like I could play the famous brands that that everyone recognizes, or I could do what I can to support local craftsmen and local luthiers and just get custom built guitars and spend money on things that are going to be purposely designed for me so that they feel good for me, and they're exactly what I want. And so that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years, just playing this guy called Richard Lucas, and he makes Lucas guitars, and that's what I've been using for the last 5 years.
Okay, the band HARLOTT has an EP called Pain Emblem that was never officially released, if my sources are correct. Please tell us about it, and why hasn't it been released?
I think we just never quite finished mixing it. I think, this is going back a really long time, but we recorded about 5 songs, including a very early variant of Infernal Massacre, which is on the first album, and Hellbent, actually, which I think is on the second album. But I just think we never quite got there. I think it never quite got finished. It was a bit of a weird EP, like it had some thrash metal, had some speed metal. There was like a death metal track as well. There's a song called Endeavour in Blood, which, I'd be mortified if people heard that song because it's about 6 minutes and it's me growling almost the entire time. Yeah, it just never came out. We never bothered putting artwork for it. It did actually sound quite good. The songs that did get mixed were actually pretty good, but I just don't think we were quite ready as musicians to put that forward. So it was all right, but I don't think the performances were quite up to scratch.
So Andrew, please tell us what are you doing and how are you dealing with the lockdown, the COVID-19 pandemic? What are you doing in your spare time to keep yourself occupied and busy?
I painted a model ship. I put together a scale model of the, I think, USS Arizona.
Nice.
I painted that. That took up a couple of nights, but in particular in Melbourne, we had a very rough lockdown. We had a really strict, like, don't leave your house unless you're going to work or the hospital or to get groceries, and that lasted for months down here. But the state of Victoria in Australia has 0 active cases at the moment, so the really strict kind of action worked. So we're kind of opening the state back up. We've got a lot more freedom now, and we don't have to worry about people getting sick or getting anyone sick. So yeah, we've done it tough for most of the year, but it's paid off, hopefully. So fingers crossed we can all just enjoy Christmas with our families without having to worry too much. And I didn't lose my job, which is nice. A lot of people did, particularly in like the hospitality industries. The music scene has stopped in Australia. We haven't played a show since February because gigs have been banned. But yeah, so it's just been an interesting year. It gave us time to kind of sit back, relax, and concentrate on doing the promo for the album and making sure that we released it in the most effective way we could without being able to tour it, because I don't think we're going to be able to get overseas for a very long time.
If a new fan comes to one of HARLOTT shows, what kind of HARLOTT show with a new fan and fan-to-be get when they see you perform live?
I think it's a bit of a weird show. I tend not to take it terribly seriously. I'm a reasonably quiet and subdued man. In between songs, I tend to tell a couple of jokes or just, thank everyone for being there. But, we kind of bounce that silence in between songs between, what we hope is like a razor sharp, musical performance. So it's a pretty aggressive, oral assault from start to finish. But, you can definitely just see 4 dudes up on stage having fun. Playing music that they love, because we're there to have a good time. We're there to make people have a good time. We're not there to try and intimidate people or scare people or make everyone believe that we're the toughest dudes in the world. We're just playing the music we love, and we feel privileged and incredibly fortunate to be able to even be given the opportunity to go and do these kind of silly things. So you do just watch a bunch of people having fun.
Right, absolutely.
And, me telling crap jokes.
Okay, please tell us about any shows you might have coming up if this lockdown pandemic ever ends. Do you have anything possibly lined up for 2021 in the works?
Well, locally we've actually got some shows at the Bendigo Hotel, which they've reopened, and obviously to try and support them on their reopening because they've got 6 months of lost revenue because they've had to be shut down. So we're putting some shows on to help people get in the door and drink way too much beer and have a good time. So we're going to be back on playing local gigs at least, possibly national shows, touring around the country. We were supposed to be in Europe earlier this year to play some festivals, and they got cancelled, but postponed for a year. So the idea was that we wouldn't go this year, but 2021 we'd go and play those festivals that we missed out on. But as this COVID shit drags on, it's looking less and less likely that that's going to be much of a possibility.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
So there's a possibility 2021 will be just focusing on playing around Australia and maybe writing album number 5. I would love to get overseas. I would love to come and play some gigs. I was been meaning to do some North American tours for a very long time, but we haven't had the right things come up yet. I didn't think supporting Cryptopsy would have made much sense for us, so we didn't take that tour. But yeah, look, if 2021 allows it, we'll get overseas, but it's definitely not going to hold my breath or make any plans around it because it's too uncertain at the moment.
Please discuss with us what's the reception been like and the reviews that have been done on the band that point out the best to you, and what was the inner reaction so far since you come out with a new offering?
It's been really positive so far, which always makes you feel good because you never know how an album's going to be received. Like, you can record something and you'll be like, oh, I really like this album. I think we've done a good job here. But you do not know how people are going to like it until it's actually out there. And by then it's too late to do anything about it. So you just let go and you go, well, it's in God's hands now. Like, it's out of mine. So it's been really good to have, people talking about it as enthusiastically and people remarking, so excitedly about the new album, and the people that have taken the time to personally message me, or some fans have even emailed me, because I think my email address is on one of our social media, so you can just contact me directly. And so people do, and I love it when they do, because it's hearing that someone loves what you've done is the reason that you do it, really. Like, this is, we create music for enjoyment, for our personal enjoyment, but, it means the world when, people will take time out of their day to let us know that, they love what we've done, and they listen to our album heaps, and, it's just crazy because, I remember back being young and when, I was obsessed with music and obsessed with musicians, and like, it's crazy to think that you're having that kind of impact on other people, and it's an incredible feeling. It's really like quite humbling and very exciting. And so the reviews that are coming in have been a majority like extremely positive. The people that have messaged me have said really nice things, and the record label aren't yelling at me, so I guess it's obviously selling well enough. And look, hopefully we'll make a couple of those, top thrash albums of the year lists. I always like it when we get on those.
Absolutely. And I'm doing one of those in January.
It's always a good feeling.
I'm doing one of those. I'm doing a top 20 top thrash releases in 2020. So you just could be on the list there, brother.
I'll be really upset if we're not now.
Yeah,
now
I'm really digging. I'm really digging the new offering, man. It's awesome. It's a killer.
Yeah, I'm stoked with it.
What is your
as
thoughts?
As long as we keep getting better,
Yeah, what is your thoughts on the music industry today? And who are some of the bands out there that you listen to currently that you so awe in, that you really into and you like out there on the scene?
The music industry is an interesting one. Like, it's a constantly evolving beast, and the way that technology goes. Music piracy has been an issue for a really long time, and they had to kind of change the way that they made money from music, and they had to change the way they promoted it and the way they sold it. So, gone are the days where record sales was going to put anyone into retirement, but there's also just this incredible market now. There's these, obviously, your Spotify's and your Apple Music's that they give everyone in the world access to like all the music in the world. So it's never been easier as a musician to get your music to people's ears. And regardless of the consequences that might have to your finances, it's great for us to just it's great for people to have the access to our music so that they can enjoy it and listen to it like freely and easily. Just at the press of a button. And that's the way the industry's going, and it's we sell CDs and we sell vinyls to people that like having the physical thing, or they like collecting CDs, or they want a vinyl for their because they prefer the way that sounds. So there's always going to be a market for things like that, but the grander audience is those those streaming services, and that's that's where the industry is at the moment, and I personally don't see that there's much wrong with it. I think it's great that it's really just kind of simplified and revolutionised how we kind of market and how we do things. The other part of your question about bands that I listen to. Oddly enough, I listen to a lot of doom metal. I've been listening to a fair bit of Pallbearer lately, a bit of Bellwitch, and in between that, there's a lot of Australian kind of thrash death releases that have come out that I've been listening to lately. The latest in Malice's Wake album is currently in my car. I've got like a 6-stack of CD player in my car, which is absolutely ancient technology, but it does force me to get a little bit creative with how I listen to music. There's usually a Merciful Fate record in there for good measure, and some circus and carnival metal. Bands like Trolled Hogan, those kind of things. And oddly enough, the Les Miserables soundtrack. I don't know why that's in there. I'm just obsessed with it.
What advice would you have to give to upcoming bands?
So I think too much about what people want to hear or the best way to, try and sell your product. Just do it because you want to listen to it, and do it because you want to play it. And if you approach your music that way, people will take notice. If you're doing it because you love it, people are going to see that you love it, and they're going to enjoy it, and you're going to have a much more positive impact on the world if you're spreading joy for the sake of joy rather than spreading it for the sake of moving CDs or tapping into Facebook algorithms or some shit. Like, I think genuinity carries a lot of weight these days. So that's my advice. Do things that you want to do, and do it the way you want to do it, and don't compromise on stuff like that.
Please give us a plug on your website.
Remember that you're
Please give us a plug on your. Please give us a plug on your websites where we can buy HARLOTT music, and tell us about the merchandise that you have on your websites for the fans.
Well, the Meadowblade website. So if you go to meadowblade.com/HARLOTT, that'll give you links to purchasing the latest album as well as some of the older records, because they've got distribution centers depending on where you are. So if you're in, North America, it's got a bunch of, that's where you can buy it from. If you're in Europe, there's a link to where you can buy it from in Europe, and there's, one for the UK as well. Because sending stuff from Australia overseas is always really difficult and costly, and the turnaround time is obscene. So if you're looking to buy the new album, Meadowblade will help you out. If you're looking to support us because you love us, we do have a Big Cartel store, so you can look up a HARLOTT Big Cartel, and we sell a variety of t-shirts and long sleeves and patches and pins and etc. Lots of sundries, all the stuff that we take on the road. When we're not on the road, we just have up on a little online store.
Please give us shout-outs to the fans and fans-to-be. What would you like to say to them in closing? And is there anything else you'd like to discuss before we close this interview?
Look, people that listen to the music and enjoy it and, buy the CDs and, take the time to message us and tell us that they love what we're doing, it makes everything worthwhile. And I genuinely cannot thank them enough, personally. And the only thing that I can really think to do is continue to write and release music and get out on the road and play shows for these people so that they can come down and check us out. So if you do ever come and see us play, and you want to come up and introduce yourself and say anything, please do, because it makes flying for 25 hours to get to the other side of the world totally worthwhile. It justifies everything that we've done up until this point to meet people that love what we're doing. And yeah, if you don't get a chance to see us on the road, thanks for all your support so far, and I hope you continue to enjoy our music as we release it.
Andrew, it's been an honor and a pleasure having you on tonight's show, Joker's Electric Circus here at Metal Messiah Radio. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule for doing this interview with us, and you're more than welcome to come back on the show when the new offering comes out and anything new you want to promote in the future. You're welcome to come back.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. It's been great to talk.